leaving Kenya for the United States. I'm here with someone who was originally born in Kenya, and he looked at the United States as the land of opportunity to immigrate to. And he now left the US, but we are going to be talking about things surrounding his decision on why he chose the US and some very important aspects of life in Kenya. If you can please fill us in, what was it like growing up in Kenya, socially, economically, and also politically?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me for the interview. Life in Kenya growing up, I would say was interesting because I was there a lot of my years when I was young. And, I grew up there, so I understood what the culture was, the food. And, it wasn't until I got older that I started to look at the world a lot differently, especially than when I went to the United States. So growing up in Kenya, the cost of living was good. The quality of life was good with my family, me and my siblings and my mom and dad. Just a lot more things to do as far as opportunity. And we were young, so I still didn't work yet. And I was in school, so I was just, having fun at that time. In 2010, I moved to the United States. And that's when you can say adult life started. So high school, college, and then I've been working ever since. So now that I've been in the US and I've understood what that society looks like, that kind of work environment looks like, growing up there a little bit, I'm able to look at what my life was in Kenya and understand those differences, some of the challenges, some of the positives and negatives. But now I'm an adult, so I can see things a lot more, objectively.
What did you expect to find in the US that Kenya could not offer you back then when you left in 2010?
One of the main things was education. So just going to university, that was a big thing for my family. Also the opportunity to earn, high salaries. Whereas in Kenya, typically the people who earn those higher salaries are government workers for the most part, or people who work for large corporations. So just, the opportunity to work was the big one. So I went to school in the States, and then I've been working ever since, and I've worked for both companies in the private sector and also the public sector.
Now, reverse migration is a big thing, right? Not only in the US, but I think it's a growing global phenomenon that's happening. What would you say are some of the main reasons why Kenyans decide to abandon a land of opportunity like the US, to actually move back to Kenya, a country that's now booming with opportunities, right? What's happening exactly in the minds of Kenyans that decide to move back home?
So right now, Kenya has developed quite a bit. So I was there earlier this year. And what I noticed is there's a lot of new development projects like high-rise apartments. There's a lot of opportunities to get land. I think that the folks who have immigrated to United States or even other parts of the world, once they have the resources that they need or can actually now invest, they do go back to Kenya and try and settle in these societies where they can get a better cost of living, they can get a better quality of life, and they can even raise their family in an environment that they might feel is a little bit more safe, and also send their children to schools where it's more diverse, right, rather than in the United States. So those are the main reasons. From the people that I've talked to, I think that those are the main points as to why they decide to, after working 25 years in the US, then take those resources to go back to their home countries.
When it comes to the quality of life, there's always a big contrast. And it greatly depends on the income that you generate, be it locally or online. So which of the two countries, right, between Kenya and US, offers a better quality of life if you have location-independent income?
Definitely Kenya. If you're location independent and your income's remote, like myself, it's definitely a lot more better in terms of spending, especially your dollar. Or your euro or whatever currency that you're bringing in. There's not a tax advantage like here per se, but definitely when it comes to paying taxes, you're paying a fraction of what you would be doing, in the United States or in Europe. I'm not familiar with Europe as much, but with the US, tax code and system, I'm very familiar. So yeah, so I would say Kenya is definitely a place that people can go and should go, especially if they have long-term retirement goals or they want to get there and even just start a business. There's a lot of opportunities that you can start over there.
Were there any things about Kenya that you started to appreciate only once you left?
Yes. So like we were just talking, instances where like it's just like me and my mom or me and my dad and sisters going to a friend's house or a family's house, and we just have dinner. Just having dinner, just being able to go to my friend's house, spend like several hours there, even after work. Like, so my mom and dad will do a full work day, and yet we'll still be able to, hey, we'll go to Nancy's house and we'll spend time with their family. We'll eat dinner. We'll just socialize. And we're doing it up until like late in the night. I'm talking like almost close to midnight, and we'd still all be able to, go back home. Like myself and my sisters, we'd go to school the next day, and my mom and dad, they would go to work. So just even that experience of, after work, being able to just go to somebody's house and just spend time. That's one of the biggest differences I've noticed actually between Kenya, or living in Kenya, and living in the United States. After work in the United States, it's really hard even just to link up with some of my friends or even go to somebody's house for a dinner. Usually people reserve that for the weekends because that's the time that they can maybe arrange, or they feel like that's, the best available time for them to do that. So just that little, social interaction, that quality of time, and you don't feel like everything is rushed. Whereas when I'm in the United States, I feel like there's a rush, even when I meet people.
The thing that people have time for in the US is playing console. There is no time limit there, but when it comes to like dining out or spending quality time with family, that's usually more restricted, right? Yeah. Whereas here we talked about how life functions here in Paraguay, yeah, and how people, even during the week, don't have a problem spending a couple hours at night with their families, right? So I think that's an admirable quality to have, where people still value community life and prioritize the family over perhaps personal things that they want to pursue. So I think from what you're telling us here, it sounds like it's the same also in Kenya.
Yeah, it's the same. I can see, even just, I've been here for a few weeks now. I can see that, people even on work days, meaning Monday through Friday, they still able to set up time to see other friends, family, or whoever they're, interested in meeting up with during the week, not just, solely restricting it to the weekends.
Now, just going back a little bit to the quality of life in the US, we both know, we both lived in the US. We both know that the US doesn't offer the best quality of life on the planet.
Sure.
It's very far from, I would say, an average standard of quality of life. It just doesn't exist. What advice can you give young Kenyans, say people that want to leave Kenya to find more opportunities in the US, Canada, Europe, and other places? Like, what advice can you give them? Do you think that the West is the real solution to upgrading their quality of life? What's your take?
I think there's pros and cons to everything, all countries. I think that if you're a young person and you're looking for opportunities, I think that the West is definitely, the Western countries or Western societies are ones in which opportunities are vast, and also if you go there with the particular skill sets, you can make a lot of money, right? I think that you just shouldn't get caught up in the society while you're there. Like you said, my advice to young people, yes, I think if you go to the US and you're pursuing higher education, things like that, let's say you want to be a doctor or a surgeon. Yes, I would say the US is good for that kind of thing. I would say that if you're more of a tradesman, like you work on specific trades, yes, the US might be good at that as well. But in today's day and age, 2025, there's a lot of opportunities for people to make money online. I think that if that is your strong suit, then I would say that the Western society is not really the place to go for that. I think in other places in the world, you can do remote work, or you can take your remote work with you to those countries, and you can still be able to sustain yourself and even live a high quality of life. I think it just really depends on what you want, really.
So would you say that Kenyans should leave Kenya for the US?
I would say yes, if you are a young person and let's say you're struggling to find opportunities in Kenya. Because let's be honest, like even here in Paraguay, I'm looking around for foreigners like us. Yes, I think the quality of life is good, but maybe for, a Paraguayan family, average family, I'm not sure what the actual quality of life would look like for them. So I would say yes, if you're young and you're pursuing higher education or particular career fields, yes, coming to the West is good. I just don't think that in the long run you should look to always, stay in those countries. I'll give an example. Like I went to school with two gentlemen in Kenya. We went to boarding school together. They came to the United States. They went to university, Stanford, and I forget where his brother went, but they did computer science. They are only in the United States for school purposes, so they don't have any like long-term residencies or visas. After they completed their education, they went back to Tanzania. That's where they're originally from. And because they had worked for major companies in the US or done internships with major companies, they had an experience of building applications, building software that they actually took back to Africa, and they've now built a company.
Nice.
Yeah, together. Ian and his brother, they built a company together there, and the business is doing really well. It's a supply chain company. So it's doing really well because they have found an issue in Africa, and they've taken their skill sets from America, and they're now trying to solve issues in the African continent. So things like that, like I would say, yes, use the West to identify where you can get skill sets that can then allow you to come back to Africa or wherever it is you're from and help solve issues over there.
I appreciate the information and perspectives you've shared on Kenya. If you have any questions that we can help you answer, please post them in the comments below. As always, we appreciate your attendance. Thank you so much for watching Nomad Elite, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next video.